Unchurned is presented by Update AI.
The CSM had like the confidence to be willing to challenge the customer to say like, you're not like a SWOT, like it was a SWOT on how they use Gainsight. Like that's cool. I thought it was a very innovative idea. I think co-pilots, in other words, like chat-based interfaces for AI are great. But eventually I think that the chat-based interface for AI is just going to be ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini or whatever, right? I think that like the long term, that is the interface. I think the thing that I'm hoping people leave Pulse with is.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Unchurned. This has kind of become a tradition annually. It's my favorite episode of the year. I'm joined today by Nick Mehta. Nick is the CEO, as you all know, of Gainsight. And we're going to be talking all things Pulse. We're recording this a couple days before Pulse, but we'll release it right before. And I'm very excited I'll be there. Nick, thank you so much for being on. Welcome to the program.
Awesome to see you. I know you say it's a favorite episode of the year to all the guests, but I will take it.
I do.
That's true. Yeah.
No, but this one really is. Let's be fair. This is also the favorite episode of our listeners. So my opinion doesn't really matter. It's the people that speak, and this is what they get. So Pulse in Vegas even added another layer of craziness and excitement to the mix. Tell us how that came about, and I want to know, like, what additional element do you think Vegas is going to bring to the show this year?
Let's be clear that I remember early on in Pulse, we were doing, Lauren Ulrich, who you've spent time with, is amazing. And she's been the heart and soul of Gainsight marketing since the beginning, along with Anthony, our original CMO. And I remember talking to them probably 2013, 2014. They're like, hey, should we do Pulse in Vegas? I was like, over my dead body, will we ever do Pulse in Vegas? I'm a Vegas guy. Like, look at me. I'm like the least cool person you ever meet. So like, no, I'm not I'm much.
Oh, wait a second, Nick, because every time I see you on stage, you wear some variation of like what I imagine Elvis would have been wearing in the 70s in Vegas.
Vegas fashion, and nothing about me that's Vegas. Exactly. I'm like a mission that way. No, but it's funny because we always were like, hey, Vegas is a Gainsight, so different. And then childlike joy is one of the values. It's adult like joy in Vegas, right? It's a different vibe, fully okay, but different. And so, but then a few years ago, our amazing events team, Lauren, and then Kat, who works on Lauren's team, they were like, look, eventually Vegas is the only alternative. There are not that many once an event gets pretty big and all that. And it's set up for conferences. I'm like, okay, fine. But then I got excited about it because it's going to be fun. And yeah, definitely this year, as we'll probably talk about, the theme is the Wicked movie / musical. And it's like that pageantry is like perfect for Vegas.
Yeah. And so it's become a little bit of a tradition that we, when John and Christy and I are on the program here with you, we always kind of take a prediction of what your wardrobe's going to be, specifically your shoes, right? And I feel like this one's probably a slam dunk. Is it the ruby red slippers? Is that where we're going with the theme?
I remember every time I say, I'll never tell. Be there. You have to be there. Come on. If you're watching, you got to be there.
Yeah. Well, I saw a prop bet for it in DraftKings, so I might place that bet because I think it's pretty good odds that it's going to be the ruby red slippers. Yeah. So, okay. But, last year, so I went to Pulse in St. Louis, and I know there's roots of St. Louis for the company. People were like, St. Louis, you're making me fly to a flyover state. I should continue on to one of the coasts, what's good. But I actually loved St. Louis. I thought it was like so intimate for Pulse. The city's a little quieter, but it felt really nice. And the programming was great. I loved the party at the end where it was like kind of what I would imagine would be like an indoor, like practice football facility that was just full of food and fun and games and stuff. So I don't know where I'm going with. There's not a question there, but kudos to you on St. Louis, I suppose.
It's awesome. It just shows like, when you have a team that's creative and an awesome community and customer base and everyone, like, they did an amazing job. Transferring the city of St. Louis is great. And then obviously we won't be as relatively a big of a deal in Vegas. I think we will be like this out of all the stuff that will happen in Vegas those 2 days. It'll supposed to be this.
Well, Kenny Chesney is in town, so you've got another personality to compete with. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I hope you come to Pulse at least for part of it because I know you're probably going to see him. So
no. I'm there for the full thing. What number Pulse is this?
This is what's funny. This is the whole problem of how you count things. This is our first Pulse was in 2013, so I guess this is the 15th Pulse. So Great. I'm sorry, the 12 pulse. Sorry, 12 pulse. I can't do math. 12 pulse. Yeah.
Wow. That's insane.
I was including the European ones, but out of the US, this is our 12th pulse. Crazy.
And we know they've started from like a luncheon, right, at like a Sheraton hotel or something to like now to Vegas Strip.
Yeah. Vegas is it's pretty nice to like kind of imagine Pulse like kind of getting the spotlight in the city.
Yeah.
Never sleeps, right? Or no, city of what? No, Bright Light City? I don't know. I was getting confused. You live in the city.
Well, we know it's Sin City. We know it's Sin City. That's for sure.
Bright Light City. Yeah, some city. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, so pressure is a privilege. I've been hearing athletes say that a lot recently. Ooh. And you've earned that privilege for putting on the Super Bowl of the industry event. What pressures do you feel either this year or just in general? I know there's lots of dress rehearsals and planning and all that kind of, but what pressures do you feel going into these Pulse events?
What's weird is that just once you do something a long time, the pressure does drop. And I think that is also tied to like that sports thing where, you talk to some of these athletes and like, they just feel like it's in flow. Right. And so I think some of this, the pressure is definitely lower, but the majority of the reason for that is we have such a great team and all of this stuff, the logistics, if you've ever put an event on, whether it's a small one or a really big one, events are really stressful. And we have the best events team in the business. I would pick them over anyone out there. And they just are amazing. And I remember the early days of Pulse when we're just figuring it out. So there is a Pulse, I think 2016 something where, the machine to register people had broken because this was like, back in the printed badge days. And, literally I'm walking up and down the line, handing angry people coffee because I'm like, they're all angry. They can't get into the sessions. And I'm just handing them coffee because I'm like, okay, well, we got to do something. I can't really do anything else. Yeah. And so this year, the pressure on
that's illegal in the state of Georgia, by the way.
Really?
No, I'm joking.
Yes.
Election laws. It's layered. Yeah.
That's very deep. So like the pressure on the event is actually not high because our team's so amazing. I think the opportunity and the excitement this year was really weaving in the theme of, what we'll talk a lot about, which is, agents in the post-sales world. Into everything. And then, by the way, finding a way to tie it to Wicked, the movie. And that's actually where a lot of the fun, at least for me, creatively comes from, which is like, how do you tie like what's happening in the business world with what's happening in the kind of pop culture world and link them together? So I wouldn't say pressure, but definitely like it expends a lot of intellectual calories for all of us thinking about how to do it right.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had been told by one of your PMs that the new AI agents in Gainsight, they're going to be like it's going to be a logo, visualization of a flying monkey that is kind of as it completes the task. That's where you get,
they'll kind of destroy your computer and then like your company take over. Exactly.
Yeah, it's the new Clippy. Yeah. All right. Lots of changes at Gainsight over the past year since we spoke before the last Pulse. And I like to kind of bucket things into the 3 Ps: people, products, and processes. So I want to talk a little bit about the people, the products, and the processes at Gainsight over the last year, like the new stuff. 4 out of 7, I think, if I have my numbers right here, of the folks on the leadership team are new. Brent has been with Gainsight, right? But new to the leadership team, executive team, I should say. Chuck, maybe he dates a little bit beyond 1 year, but effectively he's around that mark.
He's 15 months. Yeah.
He's 15. Hey, okay. I want to go through and I want you to share, and I didn't give you the prep on this. I want you to share what really excites you most about these people, products, and processes that are new to Gainsight in this new journey. Chuck, let's start with Chuck Ganapathy, your right-hand man, the president and COO of the company.
It's amazing. Like definitely like wish I had Chuck along the entire journey, but met him, more than a decade in, but he's just so amazing. Really incredible combination of, he's a wonderful human being, like truly caring, but then also like, as I know you've interacted with him too, he's just incredibly thoughtful and smart. His ideas, a lot of being an executive is your intuition, your ideas, like you have to make good judgments. And, he was the one who said we should buy Staircase and push for buying Skilljar and all these other things that we've done. Chuck has been the center of, and obviously like he and I are the two, probably along with you and our CTO and Ori, or the founder staircase, are the nerdiest AI people within the like B2B SaaS world. And so that's also great. And so I think Chuck is just like combination of heart and smarts and drive too. So like the full deal, like truly one of the most complete execs I've ever met.
I totally agree. And you said a word there, trailblazer, which I think sticks out because he's just going for it. I mean, he's got the smarts and he's got all the EQ and IQ and everything, but he also just wants to go and has such a big vision for the company. On the note of trailblazers, let's talk about the next one. You know where I'm going here.
Where are you going?
Erica Cool.
Erica, oh my God. Erica just joined us a few weeks ago. For folks that don't know, she had an amazing career, joined Salesforce, I think in 2002. I mean, insane employee like 176. And actually started one of the first trainers on Salesforce, like training people how to use it, but then eventually built what we all know as the online incredible community for Salesforce, right? I think most folks, Trailblazer, all that stuff that some of you probably seen the jackets. And she was the one who kind of kicked that whole thing off. And it's the biggest B2B community in the world. And we knew her, actually, it was interesting, like Insighted, which is the company we bought to become our community product. They've been partnering with Erica because she had become a consultant full-time, helping companies with their community strategy. And then Chuck knew her because they overlapped at Salesforce. And then I didn't know her before, but I got to know her. And she happens to be a huge Broadway musical fan. So we hit it off like immediately. And she's amazing because she's like truly the world's expert. I couldn't imagine a better one in B2B community. She is also really deep in learning. And so we put community learning and in product, all that stuff underneath her. She's the GM of all that at Gainsight. But she's also just incredible, like just the most charismatic person you can imagine. Somebody you'd want to spend time with, learn from. So yeah, super excited to have her here.
Awesome. Marilee Bear, she's new.
Marilee's new. Marilee's our CRO. Actually, to send a note to our board about her, like the people that had recently come over from an acquisition had sent. I was talking to him and he said, Marilee is like the thing she's working for. Marilee is the thing he's most excited about at Gainsight. And that made me so happy. She joined us in late last year as our chief revenue officer. As I think some folks probably know, I decided to actually do what I think a lot of folks have done, which is let's have one integrated revenue org. So Marilee has both pre-sales and post-sales. Post-sales being Brent, our chief customer officer, reports into Marilee. And Marilee's like I think sales is such a hard job, and revenue, because she's got the whole revenue life cycle, such a hard job. You're always focused on the quarter, but you also have to build the plan and the pipeline and the strategy for the future. It's really hard. And she somehow balances it. She's super smart. She's able to drive the team internally, but in a way that is like positive. She's great with customers. She's hilarious. Like I just die laughing every time she talks. She's so funny. So yeah, Marilee's the real deal.
And then we have Keith Pierce.
Keith is also relatively recent. He's our chief marketing officer. Keith and knew some folks. Actually, it's interesting. One of his former execs he worked for, I went to see him, had lunch with him, and like the guy literally wanted to have lunch with me. This is Keith's ex-boss, to do a proactive reference on Keith. That's like how the followership Keith engendered from his past life. So marketing is really hard, and it's also like a storied job. Given Gainsight has become well known for the brand and the events and all that. And he's just a really caring, nice human being. And, it's not easy jumping in Pulse season, but he jumped in with 2 feet.
Awesome. And then we've got Brent. Brent's been with Gainsight for a little while, but Brent Kremkes is now, and by the way, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing everybody's names correctly, their last names, but I'm just going to sweeping apologize for that.
I think that's mispronounced all the time. So
yeah. As I think I've been mispronouncing yours for years as well. So I'm trying to be a little bit softer with the "t," right? It's Mehta, not Meta.
Dude, Josh, you go.
I'm trying to acclimate a little bit here.
Pretty good.
So Brent's been over a while, but he's CCO now, and then and Orientis, who came in through Staircase, who's now your senior vice president, really running the cargo ship, right? The beast of the company.
100% the biggest part of the business. Yeah. So yeah, we're really lucky. You're right. Overall, I think the point you're making, it's funny to even when you list them up, I'm like, wow, we've done a lot of changes last year. Sometimes
it takes an outsider to tell you that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I still have, we have some long timers. Brent being a long timer, obviously in a much bigger job, but long timers, Robin, our chief people officer, and Alka, our CFO. But it's amazing to have all these new people. You know how it is, like whether it's new executives or like, we bought Skilljar and roughly about 60 people came over to Gainsight. And those are 60 new humans that we get to work with and learn from. And I love working with the people from Skilljar. They're so smart. They're so passionate. And so I'm sure you feel this way too, whether it's like a new customer or a new colleague or a new boss, like as long as you like them, which obviously that's a big asterisk, it's so fun because it brings new energy and new learning.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Check the people box. Now we got products. So you got some new products here. We've got Staircase, we've got Skilljar, ModerateKit, which came over with Erica, and AI agents, right? Not an acquisition, but there's a whole chapter there, which I'm sure is going to be a lot of time dedicated to in the keynote. Which one do we? Let's start with Staircase, right? So Ori came over, brought Staircase. What's exciting you these days about Staircase?
Fastest growing product we ever had by far. And it's interesting because it was tiny business when we bought it. Because I think you knew Ori a little bit, right? So It was a very small business. They hadn't raised much money, very small, not much revenue. But just the kind of some of this life is just like product market fit is everything, right? And it's like, nobody wants the manual human data entry, guesswork approach to CS. That's where things were. That's not where they need to be. So it was like the perfect product. In fact, I remember when we were getting demo Staircase, everyone at Gainsight that saw it was like, holy crap, we should buy this company or at a minimum buy this product. Like literally independently. I'm not talking like Chuck and our corp dev team. I'm talking like CS people, all that. They were all like, and by the way, like many of them equally adore your product. So not
appreciate it. What was it? No, but what was it that really had them, eyes wide open on it?
I think part of it, and now I see it too, part of it is like using AI to do the things that are the most critical for leaders. In CS, a lot of leadership value historically in our Gainsight customer success product and other CSPs and Salesforce was all about a human entering data into a system, a CSP, a CRM, reports generating for management, right? And that's kind of like why management says, you got to enter the data. You got to enter the data. How come your data isn't up to date, right? Similar. It's the same thing happens in sales. And this is more like, it's like magic. It's like, no, nobody entered any data. As you know, you can't enter data in Staircase. Like it's not actually possible. And it's like a few hours to set up and like literally a few hours and no admin. It's actually quite different from what people might think of as Gainsight's core CS product, which is great, but definitely takes work and effort and ongoing management. And so the instant value, and then for the leadership value. So I use it like religiously, nonstop. The team can all attest to this because you can get alerts in Slack basically or Teams when there's a customer related issue. And it's amazing because number one, you can jump on the really big ones, make sure the team is assisted, particularly if the issue crosses different functions, but also you're learning passively. I remember this is airing dirty laundry, but about a year ago, we had a release of something in our core product or CS product called Journey Orchestrator, which you know about. It's like our digital engine. And it was a buggy release. And I got to see firsthand that like we really screwed it up because it was like email. And these weren't emails that I was sent. They were sent to me. Like these are emails sent to support or a Slack message. It'd also look at your meeting transcripts, et cetera, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden this thing blew up. By the way, Chuck had just joined at that point, roughly. And he saw the same thing. He's like, whoa, we got to go fix this. So it's interesting because it helps you make systemic changes and helps you operate also on individual customers.
It's like a pager duty for voice of the customer. It alerts you. Everything that you need to know.
Great analogy.
And I think it's important just to underscore what you said about the instant value, right? The time to value, that being a big differentiator as well, showing that value to leaders and to end users, eliminating the busy work, right? Immediately.
100%.
Hey, everybody, it's Josh. Ever wonder what your team's missing in customer calls? Update AI doesn't just take notes. It captures the moments that matter. It auto-builds account plans, spots risk and upsell signals, and services the themes your execs actually ask for. It's what top revenue teams are using to stay ahead. Message me at josh@update.ai. I'll show you how it works.
Skilljar is the big one recently over the last month or so. Tell us a little bit about the investment thesis into them.
Yeah, totally. So, we have always believed that customer success in the broad sense of the word is more than just what the CSM team does. And we all know that CSMs, like many of you are probably watching, are just the jack of all trades. And so you kind of have to like have a side hustle in training your customer and getting on a Zoom or Teams or whatever with them. And you have a side hustle in introducing them to another company because they want to like peer-to-peer reference. And you have a side hustle in like getting them to try the new feature. And right. And so like, if you get time at the end of the day, you work on driving value and like understand their outcomes, but most people don't have time. So we all knew that you had to kind of unbundle that role and say, can we use technology and specialized roles to help have everyone aligned around this customer journey? The thing that we've talked about forever, right? That's like something we talked about for 10 years. But one of those core pieces we always saw, even in our own business, was that customers that were enabled and trained are going to be more successful. And that's so obvious, like the duh, right? But people don't always invest in it. And so actually years ago, we actually started using Skilljar and like we had no idea we were going to get in the space. And we saw big results, like our NPS for customers that were certified was like double what it was when they weren't certified. So we saw the value. And actually at that point we were like, oh, we should get
go certified, meaning that they had taken the training and the education through Skilljar.
The training and certification is then you have to kind of like take a test, basically. I'm glad for kind of catching that in case people didn't follow it. So they had to make sure they'd taken the test and they'd been a certified Gainsight administrator. This is for our CS product. And they had double the NPS, more than double the NPS of folks that hadn't been certified. And so we saw that as a real opportunity. Back then, we were like, God, the Skilljar company is pretty small, but it seems pretty good. A lot of people are talking about it. And we actually were like, interested in seeing if they would want to combine forces. And the stars didn't align then. And actually, a couple other times where it almost happened. And then we bought this company Insighted for getting a customer community. And they had a partnership with Skilljar, and by the way, also with Erica Cool. So it's kind of funny because all these worlds are connected together. And they're like, you guys should try to buy Skilljar, and didn't happen then either. Now it happened that there was another company some folks know called NorthPass, which was another education tool, a little bit more kind of small business oriented, but a very good product as well. And so we actually bought that, and it was pretty interesting because we bought it. It's like, wow, there's something here, but our larger clients wanted a different set of functionality. And Skilljar was still out there. And thankfully for us, Sandy and Jason, the founders, were open to like having a more serious conversation. And so then they had amazing clients, Okta, DocuSign, LinkedIn, all clients of Gainsight CS product as well. So there was this real synergy, Autodesk. And so, yes, one thing led to another. And so now we have two education products, but obviously we're converging them over time together.
All right. So Staircase, we're helping to eliminate busy work. We're giving immediate value to leaders and all the insights that they can glean. Skilljar, we're helping to level up our customers and make that an easier, more scalable lift for our CSMs as well, who you've now equated to being hustlers. And then ModerateKit is the next one. Now, ModerateKit, it sounds a little bit more like, Erica's the all-star. It was a tool that she had built and she was using, right? So it's maybe not as commercial, but what is ModerateKit? I mean, should we know about ModerateKit? It sounds pretty cool when I went on their landing page.
It's like AI, it's AI for helping moderators. When you're doing community, it's like another thankless job, right? It's so important, but there's a lot of minutia involved running a community. And especially the bigger the community, the more work. And we all know that one part of running community, you can imagine, is moderating, making sure the posts are appropriate, all that kind of stuff. And so we had actually already built a little bit of AI around that, but ModerateKit had built a much more full AI solution. And so it was actually kind of almost in parallel to us talking to Erica and Skilljar. And so it was definitely unique that we bought. Erica had a consulting company. We acquired her company, and we acquired ModerateKit, and we acquired Skilljar in like 4 weeks, literally in 4 weeks. And that's why Jeff Bigner, who's our head of corp dev, didn't sleep for at least like ever. So thank you, Jeff, if you're watching.
And thank you for correcting me on the pronunciation of that as well, because I was saying ModerateKit. That sounds more like a political action.
Yeah, it does. Exactly.
Moderate.
Exactly. Liberal kit. Conservative kit.
Yeah, exactly. All right. AI agents. I'm not going to ask you to say anything about AI agents. There's nothing to say there. That's just kind of small peas, right? No, but I want to save the stage for your own stage in Vegas on that. Yeah. That's deserving of the lights. Yeah. So you'll talk all about AI agents and the amazing things in the future of that. Agentic Gainsight ahead next week. The last P is process. And so I want to know if there's been any changes in processes over the past year, and maybe that incorporates a little bit of AI. We talk about all the commercialization of AI in the Gainsight side, but how has AI affected things internally as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So much. And I think that there's kind of like what you might think of as bottoms up and top down. And so I'll describe both because I think they're relevant for everyone else going through the same transformation. So bottoms up, no surprise, like this is the difference between being a 10x CSM or education person or community or product or any other role and a 1x, right? It's AI. And so what we're seeing is people internally just organically are doing so much just on their own. Like, there was this big customer that was a big renewal, and it was at risk because they're trying to decide if they want to consolidate everything into their CRM or keep a standalone kind of Gainsight CS. Obviously, thing we know about, but every customer situation is different. So what this very entrepreneurial CSM did is they took all the history, which is all in Gainsight about this client, all the notes and all that, and then took the presentations the clients had given us in their documents about the requirements going forward, and then took all the web information about this client, put it into ChatGPT Deep Research, and said, build a presentation where we map what we can do and what we've done to their needs. And it was really good, right? Yeah. And there's all these other examples. Another CSM who built this awesome presentation using Gamma. Some folks probably might know Gamma. It's like a presentation creation tool using AI. And he built this great presentation where he had the AI build a SWOT analysis for how they were using Gainsight products. And what I liked about that was the AI created the SWOT and looked at how they were using it. It was very cool. But the CSM had like the confidence to be willing to challenge the customer to say, like, you're not like a SWOT, like there was a SWOT on how they use Gainsight. Like, that's cool. I thought it was a very innovative idea. And so I think that's an example where the bottoms up stuff can bring innovation out of people. And we just see so much happening bottoms up in the company, but then top down. So the other way, what's happening, we're seeing like,
but by the way, this is nuanced and this might be obvious to you, but I know people that work in other industries and they don't have that latitude to be bottoms up and to have that creative outlet. So, you're not going to go ahead and restrict ChatGPT on your website, in your browsers, but like the fact that you give them, that's a cultural thing too, right? The ability for them to think outside the box and use those tools.
100%. A couple things that are interesting, like we bought we went to one of the early OpenAI CEO events, and Chuck and I, and I left the event and I was like, wow, that's the highest ROI event ever for them, because we left the event and we're like, let's buy enterprise licenses, which is like their expensive version for like some subset of our employees. It was like 6-figure purchase, like instant, like add to cart checkout kind of purchase. Crazy. That's never happened. And so we bought that for our employees. And then some other employees have, we paid for some other AI tools. And then some other employees just like found stuff online, and they like, I heard, hey, somebody put it on their credit card. I'm like, okay, we'll just expense that. Like, that's fine. Like, but like, it's so cool to see the bottoms up. Now the top down is not just about AI. It's really like starts with a strategy, right? So for example, Marilee, our new CRO, and Brent, our CCO, working together, they're going to present at Pulse, like what they're doing to take CS and the whole customer journey to the next level at Gainsight. We've had some great CCOs over the years, some amazing people. So it's building on the kind of backs of all these other folks who have done great things. So some of that is more what you might call classic process stuff, right? Like rethinking when sales exits the kind of customer journey, or if they exit. And so as an example, making the sales engineer be involved deeply in onboarding versus like one call. That's like a process thing, really nothing to do about AI, right? But then some of it was possible because they started using Staircase, and this is a commercial, but it's not intended to be a commercial. Brent started using it when he took the job, because he just took this job over, right? It's a huge job. And he was just like, wow, I didn't really know where people are spending their time. And now it shows me which customers are spending time on and which CSMs are the most active and all these interesting stats. And so using AI to get visibility into what's happening and then drive action off of it. Yeah. So AI kind of became part of the story, but it really started with the strategy at the top and then bottoms up innovation as well.
Yeah, that's very powerful using AI. It might just be more analytics, but understanding where people are spending their time and where that efficiency curve is. I don't know if that's AI, but
well, it's AI in that. So great question. It's AI in that before you could do analytics by having structured data, right? You could have structure. Like let's say you had some structured data, time tracking would be a good example, right? But you never get good data. And so instead, if it's just like, you know what, let's just infer it by looking at what we think they're working on using, in this case, Staircase. And so I actually think that what's cool is most analytics projects failed because the underlying data was human entered. The underlying data was something you put into Salesforce or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or Gainsight CS product. Now the underlying data is just a conversation, which obviously you know a little bit about. And it's like you're extracting stuff natively from what people are already doing.
Yeah. Lots of power in that. Okay. All right. Last piece here, Nick. Not a P, but strategy. So I want to know the big rock right now that you're pushing up the hill. You can take that as either a challenging type of thing that you're pushing up or just the biggest priority right now for you in the company.
Yeah. So, strategy, we'll say there's a silent P in the beginning of strategy. So P, I'll make it fit your framework. So I think there are two. One is like very specific to Gainsight. One is more like a meta, like CEO thing that I wrestle with. A lot of leaders probably wrestle with, whether or not. So the specific one, no surprise, is like AI, but like within AI, how do you create durable value? Because I think what all of us are seeing, and I think you probably see as well, is like the pace is insane, right? Like it's absolutely crazy, right? Like the week before Pulse, it's like Microsoft's NL Web and new Agent Foundry and Google, all the innovations in AI mode, and OpenAI acquires Johnny Ive's company, which is the guy who created all the designs of everything we use day to day, every device you use, right? Like it's absolutely nuts. And it's just like, this pace is crazy. So therefore, how do you create durable value that is sustainable? This is why I think agents versus like co-pilots,
because you can't, it's a bullwhip effect, right? Like for a company like mine, right? We can probably afford to just kind of go with like the immediate reactionary type of like the hot trend of the moment. Yeah. But you can't, right? Like you've got more responsibilities to that. So it's more of a challenge for you, I suppose.
It is. You're right. The bigger you are, the more you have to have like sustainable value, because you have the fortune of being able to just pivot on a dime, right? Like you're like, hey, okay, yes, this feature is now built into some other thing, but you know what? We can do this other thing and we're going to do it tomorrow, right? And that's like amazing, right? The larger you get, it's not even just the larger you get, the more customers you have, the harder it is for them to change too. So you have to create like more durable value. This is where I think agents really do change the game. I think co-pilots, in other words, like chat-based interfaces for AI are great. But eventually I think that the chat-based interface for AI is just going to be ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini or whatever, right? I think that like the long term, that is the interface. But what's cool is agents allow all vendors to be able to have their little slice of the pie by saying, look, I'm not the UI, but I'm the process engine that's an expert in this one thing. In our case, it could be renewals or adoption or training or whatever, right? So that's what I'm excited about. But at a CEO level, what's really interesting is you also have to pay the bills, and you got your existing business. We have our CS business, which is great and still growing and super profitable with tons of large customers and tons of small, mid-sized customers. And so that's like, you got to keep investing. We're going to show a lot of stuff we're doing there, right? And then you got to like invest in these like, what I almost think of as like you can think of it in like in sort of like investment phases. Our CS business is a little more like a private equity type business, no surprise, right? Where it's like profitable and very stable and growing. And then we've got these kind of, you might call them growth stage businesses like Skilljar and our community product and our PX technology. They're growing. They're not going to be, billions of dollars, right? But they're growing and they're growing nicely. And then you got things like the agents, which have unbounded upside, and they're totally just like a seed funded investment. And so the question is, as a CEO, how do you decide how many dollars to put into one bucket versus the other? And that's what's been really fascinating to me, is like people call that capital allocation. How do you think about that? And that even if you're an individual contributor, you end up doing that in your day every day. How much time do you put into those crazy ideas versus just like the next customer meeting? And you need a balance of all.
Sounds fun. What I miss? What do we want to talk about?
I kind of feel like you always come in so prepared. I think the thing that I'm hoping people leave Pulse with is not just like, we've got some awesome technology. Obviously, we'd love to help people with that and all that. But I hope they leave, if they left with one thing, it's like, this is the time that you need to go fast, not just for your company's sake, but for your own. And that's my hobby horse, is just, hey, look, this is really important for all of us as individuals, right? As humans. And it's scary and it's uncertain. It's hard to keep up with, right? All the things, but all those things don't help you. The only thing that helps you is saying like, how can I innovate my job and the way I work and maybe the way I do things outside of work?
Yeah. It is scary, but I think the people that do lean in will benefit. The people that don't lean in that's another story, right? But the people that do linen, I think it's a benefit to there. And the way I like to look at it is AI can do so many things to help you augment your current role. It can also help you to expand to other responsibilities of things that you weren't doing before,
Right.
you know, and unblock previous gates and blockers, like some of the examples you showed of your ICs. So exciting times ahead. All right, man. Well, listen, looking forward to seeing the Ruby Red Slippers on Wednesday morning, and can't wait, man.
There's
Viva Las Vegas. We'll see you there.
Won't be in Kansas anymore. We'll be in Vegas.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, buddy.